Welcome, everyone, to Dig on America, a socio-political podcast where every week we give you the dig on U.S. history, politics, policy, and sometimes pop culture, and discuss how they affect social issues today. DOA is an independent media supported by listeners, but probably also a deep state propaganda arm funded by George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, Jay-Z, and
Loki,
the one who remains.
the TVA.
The one who remains.
That's Kang the Conqueror for you, or the soon-to-be Kang the Conqueror. Yes, it's Loki. Sponsoring the show today. Thank you to the God of Mischief for sponsoring today's episode of Dig on America. We will be totally biased towards Loki and not towards the TVA. What do you say? This is Jason Dutch, and welcome into the show where we speak truth to fucking power. I am here with Mr. Power himself, Haas Power. What's up, Mr. Powers? Not related to Screech Powers, the now deceased.
Man? How y'all feeling, man? What's going on with y'all today?
And speaking of power, we have the powerful little firecracker himself, Mr. Michelangelo Faminier, operative of the deep state. What's happening?
I want to go to sleep. I gotta wait. There's a story. There's a story behind it. There's a story.
There's the show.
So across the street from me, in the row of townhouses across the street from me, they're all getting new roofs, which means the roofers are out, which means the hammers are going at 7:40 every morning.
The roofs are out at night. The roofers are out at night.
They out at the butt crack of dawn is where they out.
Oh my God. They must not ever stay. They must go to bed at 8 p.m. because they are there set up, ready to go.
They're contractors. They're partying balls, man.
Those guys are up at
those guys don't sleep.
Every morning there. It's hammers and nail guns. And
yeah.
The demo was the easy part. I could sleep through that. But then once they got that old roof on, they started slapping the new joint on.
Click, 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 click.
And then there was garbage day on top of that. So getting out of the circle was almost impossible. There was just cars everywhere from all the workers and the people. And the garbage truck is trying to get through. And here comes the mailman. Truck
come early?
Sometimes.
Ours comes at 6. And the worst of the worst is it comes at about 6:15, yes, a.m.
Oof.
And the worst of the worst is when I'll hear it coming and it wakes me up. And then I have that moment of thought.
Can I make it?
Shit, did I bring the garbage can out last night?
Yeah.
That's like chore number 1 in my house for being the man of the house. And if I drop the ball on that one, there is hell to pay. There will be no bias.
Our homie, our dude who does our route is the best because he does a lap because it's a circle. He does a couple beep beeps and he does a lap to let everybody know, like, hey, yo, I'm getting it going.
Oh, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's the shit. But
of course.
But I could not. I've been going to sleep and then they wake me up and then I kind of fall back to sleep and then I wake up and I kind of because he's setting the dog off. The everything. It's a fucking mess, man. I have had no fucking rest since fucking Sunday. So then today, amidst all the up and down, I hear, and then the thunder rolls, and I'm like, yeah, it's raining, you bitches. That means you got to pack your shit up and go home.
Nope.
It started raining 10 minutes before my alarm went off.
10 whole minutes.
I was like, fuck everything. Fuck everything. I'm so tired. My body hurts because I ain't got no meaningful sleep this week. So I'm just going to get fucked up tonight. So then there's no way that they're going to wake me up.
My teeth hurt.
Yo, my top of my toenails hurt. That's how you know you ain't got no rest.
Have you guys ever started watching a show and you're watching it and you're not sure if you like it or not, but you just keep watching it?
Mm-hmm.
I give them a chance.
I'm on that right. By the way, I gave your show Utopia 2 shows, and I turned that shit off. Once she popped that girl, the blonde girl, I was like, all right, shit is dark. I'm out.
Oh, it's very dark.
I'm like, I'm not fucking with this Jessica Hyde bitch. I'm turning this shit off.
Man,
Is that the one with
I forget her name.
Janelle Monáe?
I don't think she's in this.
Okay.
It's that homegirl. She's in Loki too. It's the light skinned girl with the dreads.
Yeah, with the dreads or in Loki she has the curly hair.
Nah, it's the chick with the dreads.
Hmm.
Let me find her name. I'll find
She
a picture
was
of her name.
she was not Judge Renslayer. She was the one who
She was that
got turned first.
Oh, okay.
Not the dark skinned chick with the short hair. It's the other one.
Yeah, the first TVA agent.
The one that she enchanted.
Her name is
Sylvie enchanted.
Her name is Sasha Lane.
There you go.
Pop
You're
the
a
picture
lying
up
dog-faced pony soldier.
Don't ever speak over President Joe Biden again.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Here you go. This is her.
If you ever speak over Biden.
Her.
Okay, yeah. I know you're talking about.
Is she on the list, Haas?
Is she in the pantheon of sister wives?
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough of her to grant her that type of honor.
Okay.
Do you remember her? She's been in a few things.
Is she in the minor leagues at least?
She
Working
can
her
be
way
on
up.
the bench.
She's in the farm system.
Out
That
there
is
in
so
Birmingham.
misogynistic.
Real man of genius.
You know.
Here's
Every
to you, Mr. Sister Wives Groomer.
Keeping them women in the farm system.
Sometimes I feel bad, and then I hear a couple of old ladies talk. I'm like, oh no, y'all is just as nasty and raunchy.
Women are.
They might be worse.
Just as bad, if not worse, than men.
I think they're worse than us because at least we have like a goal, some sort of rules. They just be saying all kinds of wild shit.
They will destroy your whole life for their girlfriend.
Yep.
Mm-mm.
That's for damn show. So today, listeners, we're going to talk about media bias, and we are going to do so with bias. Of course, because we're not fair and balanced here, at least in the way that Fox News is. They're very fair and balanced. Actually, they lie about being fair and balanced. We actually don't lie about that because we're worried about facts. But we're going to talk about that. But before we get to that, I have one or two things I kind of wanted to bring up. But I don't know if you guys had anything you'd like to start off the show with. Otherwise, I'll share my screen here and get your opinion on the first topic.
Well, we gotta congratulate the Milwaukee Bucks for their series win.
Mm-hmm.
That you went right where I thought you were going to go.
Haters might
Giannis went beast mode in that game.
I mean,
His name is Giannis.
Giannis.
Starts with a G. We're in America.
Yeah,
No, I'm just
but
kidding.
guess what? Oh my God. But you drop 50, 14, and 6 or something like that. You're doing your thing. And there's haters out there that are calling it asterisk because of the injuries and all of that stuff. But you gotta play the games, man.
That's every year though. Every year there's a team that didn't make it because of
people
injuries.
are arguing that there were more like stars injured on certain teams. I had a problem with the refereeing. I felt like Milwaukee was allowed to go hard, and the Suns were kind of reined in from responding
allowed to go home.
Kind. But I felt in the end, that Milwaukee did more things as a team to win the series than the refs did to slant the odds in their favor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, they definitely earned it, but
that turned on a dime, didn't it? That series?
No, it was the same as every other series that the Milwaukee played the whole playoffs. They go down 0-2 and then they win 4 straight, or they win 3 and they took what was it? Atlanta went to 7 games, I think.
So the audit in Phoenix has come back and the Suns lost. No, they won.
Man, here's what's crazy. So the Suns come back to Phoenix after losing Guess how many people showed up to give them a at least a good series, a good season, congratulatory send off.
About 300. 300. Wow, that's why
that is not the epitome of some fair weather fandom.
Wow.
This team went to the precipice of a championship. They were not expected to win at all.
I mean,
and
to be fair,
you guys don't even
they're still champions. They're just the Western Conference champions.
Right.
They're still champions. So that's fucked up.
Y'all got second place champions. You don't get a silver medal like you do in the Olympics, which I wore.
They got a trophy
today.
They get a trophy for winning the West. They are champions.
They actually get Western Conference championship rings too, I think.
Yeah. Do they get a sticker too? A smiley face sticker or a star?
Look,
because we all know that don't count.
It's still something. Going to the dance counts as going to the dance.
I'm telling you, because there's a lot of motherfuckers sitting at home looking down in the mouth.
There's a lot of people overseas losing to ridiculously bad teams.
So since you guys started the show out with sports
ball,
I want to talk a little bit more sports ball just for a second. So I'm going to share a story here with you guys. It's been shared a little bit today.
Oh, yeah.
This is a story about the Bikini Bottoms scandal, not involving SpongeBob.
What Bob did?
Patrick. No, Patrick did it. SpongeBob. So I'm going to read this real quick. In the week that the Tokyo Games officially get underway, a sport that isn't even at the Olympics has captured worldwide attention. The Norwegian women's team, handball team, was fined approximately $2,400 US at the European Beach Handball Championships on Monday after players wore shorts instead of bikini bottoms. So you can see here a picture of
Speckies.
they're basically biker shorts, spandex.
Yeah.
In lieu of the bikini pants, which you see in this particular picture here. They did so, I think, for a couple of reasons, but one of which they had, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically they had said that they believe that they should be able to wear uniforms that allow them, to perform at their best, and not uniforms that are really just there for men to gawk at their rear ends. Now, as much as
or that PA, as we call it.
Or that PA, correct. Now, as much as I love women's rear ends,
yes.
First of all, there's not that big of a difference.
Nope.
With spandex pants, biker shorts, whatever you want to call them.
Not at
all.
In
fact, I would argue, from a sexiness standpoint, I like the biking shorts a little bit better.
Holla at your boy. I agree with you.
That's my personal opinion. However, that's not the topic at hand. The topic at hand is that these women are basically doing a protest, right? And they decided to wear these shorts. Now, I do believe that there is one tiny issue with this. But by and large, I'll give you that if you want right now, but I'd kind of like to get you guys' thoughts on this.
Well, go ahead. You already said it, so go ahead.
Well, all right. So here is the one tiny little, it's not really a caveat, I would say, note that I would make on this. First of all, before I say it, I absolutely agree that the biking shorts are far more appropriate uniform.
Yeah.
And I also think that it's pretty disgusting the way that a lot of sports force women to dress so that men will just stare at their rear ends again, as I mentioned before. And that they are doing something very progressive and groundbreaking here in taking a stand. However, it is worth noting, I think, and this is not going against them, I'm just noting that they were fined by the commission, and they obviously had I'm not sure if it's the Olympic Committee, because I don't think it was the an Olympic sport, but I think it was just the handball. committee here. They were fined by, let's give it that, by the European Handball Federation, run by Vince Vaughn, I'm sure. I know it's dodgeball, but it's close. So here's where I go with this. They say in their own press release, and again, I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't have it in front of me, but it basically says, we believe that we should have the right to wear uniforms that allow us to perform at our best. And then it goes on to talk about how restricting the bikini bottom is. Mm-hmm. Great. I agree with that. I support you 100%. However, the other teams are wearing those. And there could be, based on your own admission, some slight competitive advantage when it comes to mobility and agility and range of motion, based on wearing these pants, especially since the other, let me finish my thought. When some of the other teams, and I don't know like how privileged this team is as far as income and stuff like that, but you know, there could be other teams that don't have the economic flexibility or privilege in order to do the same thing, even if they agreed. And I'm not saying that this, I'm not painting this at all negatively. I'm just saying it is worth acknowledging that there could be some competitive advantage that they lay out themselves in this particular tournament. I think dismissing that is dishonest. You want to know what the advantage they have is? They don't have to waste all that arm strength digging their fucking panties out of their ass the whole fucking thing. Like that's I don't disagree with that. So it's not their fault that they said, hey, let's not get wedgies for a fucking 2-hour match. Like, right. And if other teams can't afford it, I'm sure if they asked, hey, can we borrow some of those too? They would have given them some. So because the other team did not ask, that does not give them a right to be, to have, you know, they feel oppressed or feel belabored by having to wear those. It's stupid. And the fact that you're trying to, like, no. What am I trying to do? I didn't say you're trying to do anything. I'm saying that it's not a good complaint to say, well, I have to have my underwear at my ass the whole time, so you should everybody else should. No, I'm going to wear something that fucking keeps the sand out of my fucking vag. And, you know, and here's my thing is that sometimes fucking bikini bottoms cost more than spandex shorts. Them is you can find. I'm sure. Where was this tournament at? No, I in Europe somewhere. I agree with that completely. And there was no shops available. They don't have a Target. No. I'm not referring. All right. So let me clarify, because Karis said, well, dude, shut up. They can't afford pants. I'm not talking about the pants. Okay. What I'm talking about is the fine, because they decided to accept the fine and pay the fine, which was about $2,400. Mm-hmm. Okay. I can't sit there and assume that the team from XYZ country. Okay. I thought you were talking about the pants. No, I'm not talking about the pants. You're talking about the ability to the pants are financial ability to accept the fine. Correct. I'm talking about the yes. So the fine itself is $2,400. Now I forget. I'll have to double check myself here. I forget if this is per person or yes, each. So the 10 team members were fined 150 euros each, 240. So, yeah, $240. So I don't know, right? Like I certainly believe that, and like you said, you know, maybe the bikini, other teams have to dig it out of their ass and they exert more energy, whatever. The rule is a shitty, antiquated, horrible rule. Yes. But all I'm doing is just saying that you have to at least in my eye, I think it does, because a lot of people are saying it makes no sense. It's not going to make any difference at all. There's no competitive advantage, but they say in their own press release that it gives them better range of motion. That's all I'm saying. They don't feel the irritation of a piece of fabric. Yeah, rolling up their hoo-ha. You know, so you're more apt to move. Is what I am saying out of pocket or unreasonable? Because I want them all to be on the same playing field. From the financial standpoint, I see what you're saying. From the unfair advantage, it would be very negligible. The advantage would be very negligible because most of these women are used to playing
in the bikinis anyway. So it's not like they're not. I mean, I used to wear a jockstrap to play football, and after a while, you don't notice it. But at first, it's like, dude, this is kind of fucked up. I don't really like this. You know what I mean?
Oh, I totally know how that feels. It's horrible.
Yeah.
You crazy Dutch bastard.
I'm trying to find their record to see if they're like so they got
no idea if they're good, bad, or indifferent.
So they got gold in Beijing, gold in London, silver in Seoul, silver in Barcelona.
They're pretty good.
Bronze in Sydney and Rio. So they're okay.
But it's not an Olympic sport anymore. Did it get taken out because of COVID? I wonder.
It was in 2016.
Well, this is saying
maybe they didn't make it.
Now, well, Yahoo says here, and this I didn't even realize this. I thought it was Olympic until I actually just read the top of this story. In the same week the games get underway, a sport that isn't even at the Olympics has captured worldwide attention. So that's telling me that it's not at the Olympics. But maybe Yahoo's wrong.
It was previously.
Yeah. Maybe Yahoo's incorrect, or maybe they pulled it. But your thoughts on the entire story, guys?
I think that it's bullshit that they got fined. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that once again, patriarchy and misogyny kind of raises its ugly specter across the world to seek to obsequiously objectify women.
Well, and who gets that money? Who's that fine getting paid to? Is it going to the fucking committee? Like you're just all right, you can wear what you want, but I'm gonna just make you pay for it? The fuck out of here. What is that? That doesn't even make no damn sense. If it's against the rules, then you don't let them play, right? If it's such an advantage, you don't let them play. Like
you don't just sign them.
Right, because if I was over here shooting up fucking horse hormones to fucking go run a fucking race or some shit, my thighs are like fucking engine pistons, you're like, no, that guy's not running. He's blatantly violating the rules.
Right.
But if this is against the rules, then don't let them play. Or you don't just fine them for being out of uniform. You tell them that they cannot participate because they have an advantage over the other teams.
Yeah, I'd have a problem with that as well. Again, when I'm talking about the advantage, I'm not advocating that. I'm just being clear. I'm just acknowledging, okay, what they said. But I think that I would have a bigger problem if they told them they couldn't play. Because this is not unprecedented. If you look, like with swimming, the United States was one of the first countries to have the Olympic Committee approve those new like stealth swimsuits where they're able to cut just a couple. The wetsuit. Thank you for cutting 2 seconds off of your 400-meter relay time or something like that, where just
limiting
basically
drag.
due to the suit.
Yeah.
So it's like they approve those uniforms, but not every single country has the ability to pay for that. I have a problem with that as well, but this is not exactly, my point is it's not exactly unprecedented for teams to say, hey, you know what? We have an innovation to the uniform and this is what we're going to do. So I definitely support this team. I just, I do find it very, very interesting that women are so frequently berated for the silliest things. Now, guys get some shit once in a while, like if a male newscaster doesn't wear a suit, right? Like Andrew Yang got kind of ripped up during the debates because he didn't want to wear a tie, right? I mean, he even pointed that out himself. Why do we expect people to wear certain things? Obviously, if you're at work, you should wear a uniform, or if you need to wear a uniform. But with women, like women are very frequently told not to wear shirts that show their shoulders. You know
what shoulders do to men?
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's like the stupidest shit. Men don't have those issues.
But it's the
Okay.
complete inverse when it comes to sports, in which case they need to wear as little clothing as possible.
Right.
Because this has gone from like the business sense into the entertainment sense. So in entertainment, the women need to be naked, but then in the business sense, they should be covered in burqas, all of them. Fucking wear your Spankies, girls. Fuck them. They don't get to tell. And if y'all need some more money for the fines, or if anybody else wants some damn shorts, well, fucking start a fundraiser, because let them wear what's comfortable for them. You're not playing. I don't even know how to fucking play handball. How the hell you play handball on
You know how to
beach?
play handball.
With a hand and a ball.
What? How you play beach handball? What the hell is beach handball?
You do the same thing you do at home on the beach.
I think the only notable exception to what Mikey just said is maybe pro wrestling, where men have to, have always
A
worn
lot
those,
of men wear those
those horrible shorts.
God damn, it's terrible.
But see, I empathize with them. But in women's sports, it's obviously goes the extra mile. When men wear shorts in almost every sport. Gymnastics is another really good example, right? The women, what do you even call that? Like a
leotard.
Gymnastics, a leotard.
Leotard, yeah.
And you can see all the way to the top of their thigh. Men wear basically a long pant that goes all the way to their ankle. Why? Well, we know why. Yeah. But it's we got to get those views. Track and field, right? Could you see Usain Bolt wearing the same type of pants as FloJo? I mean, of course not.
Please
right?
don't. Please don't.
Yeah. So, well, that's true. I don't want him to do that.
Please.
Oh my!
I mean, I'm sure that would do it for. I'm sure for some people they'd love it, but I'm asking not to see. Bunch of grapes rolling around in the dryer.
Tripod race.
Yeah, all of the Jedi, all of the male Jedis, all the male Jedis wore big robes, but all the female Jedis are wearing swimsuits. Comic books, superheroes, they're all, the women are all.
I love the outrageously disproportionate dimensions of superhero like comic book women.
Yeah.
It's like bursting out of their turtlenecks up top, and they've got these waists like this, and then I'm like, come on.
Part of it though is they're drawn. That's it. They're drawn by nerds who wish they could.
It's like they all watch Weird Science, and
and they were created. Well, who is it? Raquel Welch. Is that who is it?
No, that was
Kelly LeBlanc.
No, Kelly LeBlanc.
Yeah, Kelly LeBlanc.
Oh, I had a big time crush on her too.
How do you not?
Kelly LeBrock was so freaking fine.
Was it LeBrock? Okay.
Yes, and she was in that. She was in that Steven Seagal movie too. Mm-hmm. Hard to Kill. She was a nurse or something in that movie.
I've been trying for years to forget Steven Seagal movies, and
come on, man. You gotta love him for where he was.
Under Siege is the only one I like.
Come on. Those ones where he was the cop and all that shit, man. Hard to Kill and I can't remember the other names, but man, I love those movies. Like Under Siege was good. Then he's like Under Siege, Dark Territory. That was darkly bad. And then he had some other ones that were just terrible. Now the movie with him and Michael Caine, when Michael Caine was the big conglomerate owner, and they were in Alaska or something, he was trying to get oil before the land lease.
Mikey, use that loud keyboard of yours and tell us what movie that is.
I'm on it.
That's not Under
Siege. On Deadly
Ground. Yes, that movie was pretty good. It was hokey, but Michael Caine, that motherfucker makes movies good. I'm sorry, I like that guy. He's great fucking actor, man.
I think he's a sir, if I'm not wrong.
Is he?
He might be.
Sir.
We'll just assume that he is.
That all depends on him and his wife's dynamic.
Inconceivable.
The Michael Caine
show. I'm
so
Susio today. I'm real Susio today. I'm sorry. My bad.
Michael Caine will be joining the show next week. All right. So one thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit last week, and since we're going to talk about media bias, this will sort of bring us back into it.
He is a sir.
is I want to talk for a second about our old pal, the guy that the first 2.5 years of this podcast was about, and that is Donald Trump. Just briefly, as upsetting as it is, CPAC, for whatever reason, decided to have a second event this year. Right? I mean, the next year they'll have 16 different CPACs. The bi-weekly fiesta that is CPAC. But it seems he's hinting that he's going to run. Like, he's talking about how he's polling better than Kamala. He's talking about how he's polling better than what's his face, DeSantis from Florida, and all of the other. He's kind of trolling the other GOP members, and he's like talking about how he doesn't think Biden's going to run. So I'm just curious as to your guys' opinion. Do you guys think that there's any chance that 2024 is going to be another Trump Biden ticket?
No.
Or what are your feelings right now? Mikey, you already answered, so go ahead. Elaborate, sir.
No, and I don't care because I'm going to Canada. You guys can keep up with this fucking bullshit. This is getting so out of hand. Like, if he runs again, I am leaving for real this time. Because you know what's going to happen. A bunch of idiots are going to fucking vote for him again. And I'm out of here. I can't deal with it. I can't raise my kids in a society full of so many stupid people. We got to go.
It's gonna. But here's the thing. Whether it's him or not, it's going to be him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Right? It's going to be a him. It's going to be Junior. It's going to be Cruz running as a MAGA this time. It's going to be DeSantis running as a MAGA. Picking Marjorie Taylor Greene as his running mate, or Lauren Boebert, one of the two. It's not going to be like a Marco Rubio has, even though he's not the same Marco Rubio he was 4 years ago. He's not going to have a fucking chance, dude. Like, John Kasich's not going to have a shot. None of these guys are going to have any chance whatsoever if Trump runs. But even if he doesn't run, it's going to be the closest mirror true Trumpism that is going to take over
Donald
the party.
Trump. So then people can say, well, I didn't vote for him. But you voted for his ideology. You voted for his acolyte, the person that's going to basically be the figurehead pushing everything this guy, wants, because they make these weekly trips to Mar-a-Lago to juggle the gravy. And, oh my God. And people, there are a lot of people that will vote for him or anything, the thing most closely resembling him, they're going to vote for. And it's a goddamn shame. Another
person in his circle indicted yesterday for one of the managers of his campaign for sharing information with government agents of the United Arab Emirates. Those scary Muslims. We don't like them unless they're from the UAE because they have lots of oil. But this guy's last name is Barack or Barack. Of course, I'm sure his name is spelled Barack, so I'm sure he'll say he was always with Obama. He was always a Barack. But again, someone else indicted, poll drop, not even a tenth of a
They don't
%.
care.
It's steel wool. It's ridiculous.
They don't care.
So
they don't care because the hatred is that deep. The fear is that deep. These fuckbags, they're so scared. They're scared of being treated.
Good one.
That was
Lamar.
a good one. That was a good one.
Lamar says to just check The Simpsons for predictions. You are correct.
The Simpsons be dead on. That shit is fucking creepy.
Yeah. But there's all of this shit is based on fear.
Ay, caramba.
We don't want to be the minority. We don't want to be out of power because we're afraid we're going to be treated like we treated the people that were out of power. You know what I mean? We don't want to be, people talk all that shit. We're the most discriminated against. We're oppressed. And then you say, okay, so if you woke up black tomorrow, what? You probably throw yourself out a goddamn window.
If I woke up black tomorrow, I'd go to work and I'd be successful and I'd beat all the odds.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd grab my bootstraps and just start lifting.
Right.
But see, here's the funny thing about my statement. I defy the odds. So you admit there's odds.
Yeah. Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, so it is stacked against you.
Right.
Curious.
I defeat all of that. But what do you think black folks and other marginalized communities have been doing all this time?
But what
Yeah,
about
you know.
black on black crime?
Oh, here you go.
That's none of your business.
Yeah. Stay in your lane.
Stay in
What
your
about
lane.
what about the fatherless rate?
That ain't
and,
your
and
kids.
you
mind
know
your
what? That's
business.
funny because when you dig into the statistics on that,
Uh-oh.
among fathers
don't do it
who
hostile.
among fathers who don't stay in the home with the child and the mother,
Uh-oh. Don't
black
do it
and
hostile.
brown fathers are actually more involved percentage-wise statistically than white fathers who are
Oh,
not in the home.
he
So-
said it.
Suck on that.
Yes.
So-
Suck on
and
it.
and again, here's the funny thing. It's related to economics, just like
Mhm.
almost everything else, right? You know,
It's
poor
all
white
mathematics.
families have lower fatherless rates. Poor black families have lower fatherless rates.
You
Poor
mean higher
Hispanic
father-
families,
higher father.
Higher.
higher fatherless rates. Thank you.
And what we're talking about is inside the home. You know,
Yeah,
there's a lot
And
more.
now,
There's a lot more kids born out of wedlock.
right, but
Because
also,
marriage is a fucking trap these days. And motherfuckers
but also-
don't need that shit.
also,
that's a different
let's not
generation
pre-
now.
it is a different generation, but also let's not pretend that being in a single mother home automatically means that you're fatherless.
Right. 100%.
You know, because for a year and a half, Melissa and I were separated. Technically, she was a single mother under that, category, but my kids were never fatherless,
Right.
right?
Right.
Not for a day were they fatherless.
Right.
So, it's because they were there. I saw them 4 days a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that speaking of media bias, that's poisoning the well if I've ever heard it. Because
Mhm.
fatherless children assumes that what did he get abducted by aliens? Did he die in a tragic accident? Like, is he gone for? No, they're just not a couple.
Right.
That says nothing about the relationship with the father and the kids. But fatherless homes implies that the father is gone forever and he can never
Right.
be brought back. That's
And
not what that is.
And you know something, they demonize that almost more than, traditional households where the father's a goddamn abusive drunk.
No,
You know,
he needs at least they're not
what would you think?
fatherless.
What would you think does
absolutely
more
not.
damage?
Stay in the house. He's got a father, even though he's a drunk wife beater.
Yeah,
At least he's there.
yeah, and he's whooping mom's ass in front of the kids every day. But then on the other hand, you got a father who is not with the mother, but like Dutch and like myself, we see the kids very, very regularly and are positive impacts on the kids, but one has a stigma over another and is seen as worse. It's almost like some of these people would rather the father be in the home abusing mom and abusing the kids, or being an alcoholic or a drug addict than, but that goes back to religion too.
It does, because the traditional family values.
Yeah.
The opposition to divorce, which is sort of fell back a little bit recently, but it's still there. Don't get divorced, just find a way to work it out. And you know what? I'm for that to a degree. I think that like if you're disagreeing over a parenting style or who gets the left side of the closet or something like that, those are things that you can, that it's worth going to marriage counseling for. And it's always worth trying to
100%
defeat menial issues, right?
Yeah.
I've
been divorced. I'm divorced and remarried, and I'll tell anyone who listens, even though I initiated the divorce, even though I am, in a much better place, and have moved on and remarried, I will tell anyone who listens, if you're married and you're contemplating divorce, if you really love that person, if there's any way to resolve your issues and work it out, work it out. because, damn, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, dramatic weight loss, depression, self-harming thoughts, the impact on the kids. If you really love that person, you know, you go through, it's literally like the death of a family member, but they're walking around. And if you have kids, you got to still interact with that person. And it's fucking heart-wrenching and soul-crushing for a while. If you can work it out, do it, especially if there's love. If there's love and you can work it out on both sides, work that shit out. That's just a little note from Haas, who went there and almost.
Thank you, Mr. Haas, for the spiritual, spiritual advice.
When you say, okay, I'm leaving, and you're the one who files, and then you go ahead and proceed to lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The sad thing is, and obviously we're going down a rabbit hole here, so we'll get off this real quick. But
that's the organic nature of the show, man. That's part of our je ne sais quoi.
It is the je ne sais quizzle, but it seems though, and this is one area where I'll sort of align with, the argument for family values, and that is that it seems that people, like, I get people have the right to be happy, right, but it seems that people get divorced over unimportant shit. I'm not saying it's not important to them, but like I was talking about before, oh, you got fired from your job, you got a job that paid less, or you put on some weight, or stuff like that. Than they do over the really, really bad shit. Right? Like I know way too many women in my own personal life, and anecdotal is just anecdotal. But I know I can name you 7 or 8 women who were battered, and I knew they were battered, and they some of them have left now, but it took decades, and some are still there.
Yep, I could say the same thing.
And it's like, infidelity is one thing. Like, you can make a choice to stay or not after that, but like I'm talking about like a one-time thing, right, or a 2-time thing, but the physical abuse and the emotional abuse, like women and men too. It's not just women. Men are victimized as well.
Yep.
But those are the reasons why people should get divorced fast. But it seems to me, at least from my optics, that is the least common, not the most common, I should say, reason that people separate.
Yeah. I mean,
is that just my optics, or do you guys?
No. I could, as a personal trainer, you develop a rapport with people, male and female, who tell you things about their relationships, and they remain in those relationships, and you're just like, what are you doing? But then I look at myself. Me and my ex were together a total of 14 years, and if you ask my best friend, he probably would have said, oh, he should have been out of there after 2. In the whole relationship, 2.
There's been a lot of my friends that have come up to me like, oh, you still with so-and-so? I was like, no. I had to end that. And he's like, good.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, motherfucker, you could have said
why didn't you say something right?
We never liked her.
Right. They're like, dude, that girl was crazy.
He's like, yo, nobody liked her.
Yeah, there was times where he was like, dude, I would have ran for the hills a long time ago. But he never sat me down and really had the conversation with me like, you're too close to this.
Habitual line stepper.
Like, you're too close to this, man. So here's what we're seeing. And this is not healthy for you. And we're seeing how it's eroding your soul. And, there's nothing we can do about it.
Not the soul.
So that's why you're soulless. I was wondering why that is.
Oh, my soul is back now, man. She upstairs.
Mikey, what do you think of his soul?
I don't know nothing about that man's soul. Don't try and put that on me.
I thought you were going to say, I don't believe in the soul. All right.
I'm out here like Eric B. and Rakim.
I was just setting you up to lampoon you. Cool. All right. So let's get into, now I will apologize. I have had very little time this week. I am prepared for this topic, but I was not prepared enough to put together the essay part where I send Haas some. So
I got a little something to read.
Okay, perfect.
Where you go with it.
That makes me feel good. So I'm going to read from a
Mission
couple of different sources. When I was in junior high, my eighth grade teacher, Mr. Humble, taught me some things that it turns out was not always the whole truth. So, funny thing, I did my own research. And today we will do a little bit of research on media bias, specifically media bias in the United States. So media bias first of all, actually, let's start out with this. The definition of bias from Merriam-Webster's. We'll just read that very first. An inclination
Get it together, Grouch.
of temperament or outlook, especially a personal and sometimes unreasoned judgment, also known as prejudice, or be an instance of such prejudice. In the media, of course, there are 5 different types of media. So we're not necessarily just talking about the news media. No, we're also talking about
Right.
Media and film and the print media and that sort of thing as well. So when we say media, it's usually generally going to be that we're talking about like Fox and MSNBC and that sort of stuff, but it can also be film, television, etc. So hello, Wayne Maker. When ripping on me already, talking about how I had to go to school on a horse and a cart. I am not the one from Middle Earth, Wayne. Okay, so we all know you are the least favorite person on the bin. Go away, grab a hot dog, and take a bathroom break. No one loves you.
Tell
All right,
him,
so
tell him he's old.
you old fart.
That's
Fart
America's
nuts, dude.
ass.
It's not
You
America's
fart
ass. That's Britain's ass. All right. So media bias in the United States occurs when U.S. media outlets skew information, such as reporting news in a way that conflicts with the standards of professional journalism or promoting a political agenda through entertainment media. There is liberal bias and there is conservative bias. Claims of outlets, writers, and stories exhibiting both have increased as the two-party system has become more polarized. There is also bias in reporting to favor corporate owners, as well as a mainstream bias and a tendency of the media to focus on certain, quote, hot stories and ignore things of more substance. Interesting point is there are recently a variety of watchdog groups that attempt to combat bias by fact-checking bias reporting and unfounded claims of bias. So before the rise of professional journalism in the early 20th century and the conception of media ethics, newspapers reflected the opinions of the publisher. Frequently, an area would be served by competing newspapers taking different and often radical views by modern standards. In colonial Philadelphia, Benjamin Franklin was an early and forceful advocate for presenting all sides of an issue, writing, for instance, in his Apology for Printers, that when truth and error have fair play, the former is always an overmatch for the latter. In 1798, the Federalist Party, in control of Congress, passed the Alien and Sedition Acts, designed to weaken the opposition press. It prohibited the publication of false, scandalous, or malicious writing against the government and made it a crime to voice any public opposition to any law or presidential act. The part of the Law Act was in effect until 1801. At that point, Thomas Jefferson, who was the target of many venomous attacks, advised editors to divide their newspapers into 4 sections labeled Truth, Probabilities, Possibilities, and Lies, and observed that the first section, Truth, would be the smallest, and the largest, Lies, would be the largest. He then had an interesting quote that I do not think is any true anymore. Advertisements contain the only truths to be relied on in newspapers. That is completely false now. In the 19th century, the accessibility of cheap newspapers allowed the market to expand exponentially. Cities typically had multiple competing newspapers supporting various political factions in each party. To some extent, this was mitigated by a separation between news and editorial. News reporting was expected to be relatively neutral or at least factual, whereas editorial sections openly relayed the opinion of the publisher. Editorials were often accompanied by editorial cartoons, which lampooned any opponents. Interesting little factoid here. Some small ethnic newspapers were very popular back in the day, such as those for German communities, Dutch communities like me, Scandinavians, Poles, and Italians. Interestingly, missing is any non-white communities. Large cities had numerous foreign language newspapers, magazines, and publishers. They typically were boosters who supported their group's positions on public issues, but disappeared as their readership became assimilated into American society. In the 20th century, there were some Asian language and Spanish language newspapers, as well as some Arabic newspapers that started to pop up, which obviously contain bias from their particular perspectives. So one of the things that the right will always talk about is the progressive era. So the progressive era, which took place from the 1890s to 1920s, was reform oriented. And during this time, something came up which was called the muckraker style of reporting, which is basically means they exaggerate, they misinterpret, they oversimplify events, and has been largely complained about. So I'm going to pause here for a real brief second and just give the gentleman a thought to chime in on any of what I've brought up so far.
You said muckraking, but all I heard was Fox News.
You're not wrong.
Like, I get the whole, like, if it bleeds, it leads. But some of the very obvious spin or slant of 4 or 5 different news sources reporting the same thing. The music will be different. The lighting is different. Instead of it being man saves cat from tree, it's like bum bum bum, and then the tree grabbed the kitten and lifted it into the sky. It's like, no, pretty sure that's not what happened. Pretty sure the cat just climbed up there and then couldn't figure out how to get down. It's always simple, obvious, plain shit, but it has to have some sort of dramatic element to it because they've trained their viewers at this point, not so much readers, because that's the thing. If conservatives had to fucking convince all their people by putting it down in writing, we wouldn't have these fucking Trump issues. But because they have Fox News and where they can just say shit as opposed to having people read shit, it's easy for them to cultivate their audience and train them into a weird groupthink mentality of, yep. Even if it's a fucking lie, though, yeah, I figured that's what was happening. You know what I mean? It's like that one friend you have, like every time you try to tell him something, he's like, oh, I know. It's like, how the fuck do you know that? I literally just got out of the shower and stubbed my toe, and I told you about it all the way across the country. And the first thing I was like, yeah, I know, man. Fucking stuff. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that is. I know exactly what you mean. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Big hot. Not even a bite to the joke there. Go ahead, Haas.
I haven't eaten in 24 hours, so I'm doing that. Pardon me.
So, when we talk about biased media, what I've found is that biased media on any side, does not stand up to any type of scrutiny. I find a lot with conservative articles of news that there's very little citation. And it's supposed to be a news report, but it reads as a inflammatory editorial. And they will put things that sound like statistics and things like that in there, but there are no citations for you to look at where they got those statistics from. And so there's no way for you and
they don't have to. They just say everyone knows that.
Yeah. And what happens is you have people.
Sources are telling us.
Yes. And then you ask people, okay, so where did they get this statistic from?
Sources.
Oh, I don't know. So how do you know that they actually have a statistic or they just didn't throw a fucking number out there and expect you to be dumb enough not to do the research to look at the number? Or my favorite, will cherry pick a statistic, but then when you add the context and nuance to the number that they're throwing out there, it means something totally different. And I find that predominantly what
about black on black crime? What about the incarceration rates?
Yeah. But then I ask them, I'll say when they say something like that, I'm like, are you sure you want to go down that rabbit hole? Do you really want to get to the roots of that? Because
might not be a rabbit down there.
Right. And I'll say, okay, so, quote unquote, white on white crime is 87 to 92% usually. Why don't we talk about that like an epidemic? Why don't we talk about that as a construct of the culture of what's in the DNA of those people? Then
No.
I'll say, hey, show me a impoverished white area that has a lower crime rate than an affluent black area.
There's an opioid epidemic right now.
Yeah.
Haas.
Yeah.
So
And Beth is a victim. Okay. But back in the 80s when LaTanya was on crack,
when crack was going wild, buck wild through the black community.
Nobody put that pipe to their lips. Nobody told you to get that fake prescription. But there's a difference there.
Oh, there's no difference. I don't see color. All right, so I'm going to read.
Which is another bullshit fucking phrase.
And knew if it was a blue pill or a red pill.
So here are a couple of types of, and this is from Britannica, of different media bias, okay, that are out there. So you have coverage bias, which is also known as visibility bias, when actors are more or less visible in the news. Or that's an example, like because actors are more visible in the news, I should have said. Gatekeeping bias, known as selectivity or selection bias. This is when stories are selected or deselected, sometimes on ideological grounds. It is sometimes also referred to as an agenda bias when the focus is on political actors and whether or not they are covered based on their preferred policy issues. I'm going to remind me to circle back to that if one of you would. Statement bias, also known as tonality bias, when media coverage is slanted towards or against individuals. Advertising bias, when stories are selected to please advertisers. Corporate bias, when stories are selected to please corporate owners of the media. Mainstream bias, to report what everyone else is reporting and avoid stories that offend. Partisan bias, which goes without needing a definition. Sensationalism, bias in favor of the exceptional over the ordinary, like Bat Boy. Woman has 77 kids in one day.
Or like every time that they parade out one white cop doing the whip and nay with a bunch of black kids.
Oh yeah, shooting basketball and stuff like that. Yeah,
I bought them all popsicles.
Yeah.
Structural bias.
About Officer Tommy Norman. I think he's a great, an example of a good cop trying to do the right thing. But I wish he would be riding with some of those bad cops that want to, I want to know what his turn-in rate is. How many people, how many cops has he been like, I know that's a bad fucking cop and I'm going to fucking internal affairs on him.
Oh, they don't keep them dudes.
No, I'll bet it's low. Structural bias, when a party receives more or less favorable coverage as a result of newsworthiness and or media routines, not as the result of ideological decisions. False balance, which is when an issue is presented as even-sided despite disproportionate amounts of evidence.
Climate change, flat earthers, vaccines.
Yep.
Masks.
Those all sound very familiar right now. Undue weight, when a story is given greater significance than it normally should. Speculative content, which again kind of goes without needing an explanation. False timeliness, implying that an event is new when it is not. And that basically is... I'm sorry, there's one more. Ventriloquism, when experts or witnesses are quoted in a way that intentionally is meant to be attributed to someone else. So political bias has basically been around since the printing press. We do want to, in fact, a couple of real quick examples here. In 1978, as we mentioned, the Congress passed the Alien and Sedition Act. During the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln accused newspapers in the border states of a bias favoring the Southern cause, which of course was taxes and freedom. Of course, those are the only two things that the Civil War was about. That obviously is false. Anti-Semitic politicians who favored the United States entering World War II. This is massive. So we talked a couple weeks ago about the German-American Bund when Matt Delhauer was on the show when we were talking about comic books. There was a huge contingent of Americans who supported Nazi Germany prior to World War II. They kind of got quiet after a while once they saw that concentration camps were real. But like they wanted Charlie Chaplin's movie, The Great Dictator, to be pulled because they said it was an inaccurate representation. And there was these huge conspiracy theories going on back then of cabals of Jews. It was called Jewsiness, I think. That was basically saying that the Jews ran the media. You know, you see a lot of this
still
today.
Goes on now.
Oh yeah, with George Soros, you know, who sponsors the show. Thank you for the checks you don't send.
Thanks, George.
And you know, that sort of stuff, and just a ton of anti-Semitism. And then during the civil rights movement, newspapers supporting social reform were accused by conservative newspapers of being something. I'll give you one guess.
Goddamn commies.
Yeah. See, the Red Scare. It's so easy to predict. It's not even funny. And then, of course, there was a lot of liberal bias that went into papers. Really starting in the 1970s during the Vietnam War is when it really started to be a little bit more overt. So there's also what we call science bias, right? So science writers have accused the entertainment media of media for like movies and stuff of having an anti-science bias. A lot of scientists claim that television programs such as the X-Files promote superstition. In contrast, the Competitive Enterprise Institute, which is funded by businesses, right? So this is the funny thing. The science community accuses the media of anti-science bias, but in contrast, businesses, which are fueled by the Competitive Enterprise Institute, accuses the media of being biased in favor of science against business interests. And
why wouldn't you be in favor of science versus
because of global warming?
I'm saying, why wouldn't you favor science over business interest, which is profit? Which
because of global warming, they don't want to believe it's true. So,
well, guess what? The science is the truth. Excuse me.
All right. So, in closing here, I'm at least going to give a little bit of a conservative view on this from Hoover Institute, just so that you guys can rip it apart. For many conservatives, the mainstream media's reluctant coverage of the death of 4 Americans in Benghazi was one of the newest expressions of the media's left political bias. The testimony in the House Oversight Committee's hearings on the attack made it obvious that both before and after that presidential election of 2012, the media showed no interest in challenging the administration's claims that an obscure video caused the attack rather than a terrorist affiliate of Al Qaeda. So they put an interesting slant on to this. They quote a historian named Chilton Williamson, the conservatives at Hoover Institute on this. They say, and they're talking about the progressive era, which we kind of touched on really briefly before. The presentation of facts simply as facts, editors and writers have reasons, cannot accomplish the exalted goal of saving civilization. Whoa. So to do that, facts needed to be presented according to the rhetorical patterns of thought we call opinions, patterns pointed in some particular direction of convincing an imagined jury. This jury included the opinion makers, politicians, and citizens who needed guiding by their betters in order to understand and choose the policies necessary for improving society. This random partisanship, they say, characterized newspapers for almost their entire existence. And that may strike us as deplorable. Again, the article is saying that, but it functioned in much the same way that the Federalist Papers did. Lastly, they make this interesting point, which I think this one has a little bit of weight. Journalism became a profession certified by university degrees starting around the 1970s. Before then, as films like The Front Page show, journalism was a working class trade. As late as the 1970s, Reporters, most of the veterans in the newsroom lacked college degrees. They worked their way up from being copy kids or writers of obituaries, earning by their bootstraps the experience of a job on the job as a reporter. Any biases tended to reflect those of class as much as of political ideology. Once reporters started, and this is where it loses its credence, right? Once reporters started coming out of colleges and universities, however, Mikey, why don't you fill in the blanks and tell me what you think he's about to say?
Well, those colleges that just have such a horrible liberal slant. Of course, they're just pumping out journalists. We're just a bunch of commies.
And socialists. And atheists.
Isn't it amazing?
And baby eaters.
How he didn't even... That's twice. He didn't even have to think about the answer because it's the same answer all the fucking
This
time.
is why I don't watch Fox News. I got the crib sheet right here. I got the Spark Notes right here.
Can you read what they say?
I can just look at their stupid faces and tell what they're talking about.
Hold on, Tucker's here.
Will forever be the dog who doesn't know that you threw the tennis ball.
Oh, don't talk about Morgan like that.
Yo, Morgan, shout out to Morgan, who is my best little homie. She is a good girl. Hey, Morgan.
Earlier, I brought up gatekeeping bias. So again, just let me talk about that. When stories are selected or deselected, sometimes on ideological grounds, sometimes referred to as agenda bias when the focus is on political actors and whether or not they are covered on their preferred policy issues, right? So this also has to do with coverage bias to a degree. Here's an interesting factoid. In 2015, after Donald Trump announced his candidacy for president and came scooting down the elevator with the lovely Melania, take a wild guess. Herring. Take a wild guess, guys. From I'm doing this off memory, so I could be slightly off on the months here. Uh-oh. From the time he came down the escalator until November of 2015.
300 cheeseburgers.
Remember, a fringe candidate at the time, supposedly. Take a wild guess as to how much media coverage, the percentage of media coverage he got compared to all the other candidates, Hillary, Bernie, Rubio, Cruz, Kasich, Ben Carson, all of them. Think about how much coverage. Predict for me how much you think Trump got compared to the rest.
74%.
85%.
You're both wrong, but if I average your numbers together, you're probably precisely correct. In fact, you would be just a bit high. The actual number was 77.5%.
Oh, then I won. What the fuck? I was 3 off. He was way over.
We both went over.
You didn't go. You went over. He went under. Mikey went under. So the Price is Right rules.
Pause.
The Price is Right rules. Mikey wins. You.
All right, Mikey.
$1, Bob.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. By the way,
you know that Toyota Tercel is worth more than $1.
But think about. No, it ain't. Not anymore. But think about that. Think about it for a minute. You're gonna tell me that MSNBC didn't help get Trump elected?
Absolutely, they did.
Yeah,
absolutely they did. Just like there's certain content creators that I'm friends with that I don't really support everything that they do because it promotes bullshit. Yeah. By giving them a platform, by giving them a place to speak.
Sometimes it's like, why even give them life by
this goes way beyond. This goes way beyond giving someone a platform and having a debate. This goes to obsession. Like how many Republican candidates were there in 2016? Was it
16?
17? Okay, 16. 16 or 17. And on the left, you had what? Bernie, Hillary, and maybe one other. So
no, there's like 8
in 2016.
No, I think you're talking about. You're talking about for the 2016 election, not in 2016.
Oh, not 2020. Right.
No, in the primaries, right?
Yeah.
So in the primaries, it was really just the two. There might have been one or two others who were maybe running for a minute. So let's just say 20. Okay, let's assume there was a third Democrat. I don't remember. Did Tulsi Gabbard run that year? Or that was 20 in 2016? I think she may have.
I think she was in there for a cup of coffee.
Okay, so let's say 20. So out of 20 fucking people, one dude got 78%. That's not a discussion. That's not platforming,
No.
Someone you disagree with. That is an obsession with. That would be like we had on Pastor Sam, and then we decided to talk about him 75% of every show going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about how crazy it is, right? But that's not reporting. That's just like trying to grab dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they would argue that that's their job. Their job is to get people to watch.
Right.
And people want to watch this, so I'm going to report it. I'm not going to report everything. I'm just going to report what I think will get the most butts and the most seats. We
got to justify them advertising dollars.
I need clicks on these links, so I'm going to say whatever I got to say to get these clicks out here.
What'd your boy Wayne say there, Mikey?
Oh, Wayne Maker 2.0. Hello, Wayne. I remember CNN cutting from a Bernie speech to an empty Trump podium in anticipation for Trump turning up. Yep. Right in the middle of his shit. They just turned his off and then fucking showed the podium. It was a good 6-7 minutes.
Let me tell you about my healthcare plan. It works in Vermont. Here it is. I'm going to prove it to you right now.
So we're going to cut and go to Donald Trump, who was speaking in front of a crowd of paid actors.
Right.
A bunch of extras.
Yeah, which, by the way, was proven true. Shots out to Rachel Maddow on that one because they got the receipts for that one.
Rachel with the receipts, baby. Rachel with the receipts.
They reported that story back then. I thought it was like Lewandowski came out and said it was completely false, unequivocally false, and came out the other day and said, "Oh yeah, that was true."
Mm-hmm.
We literally had hired an advertising agency to have people come out and wear Trump shirts and cheer for him during his first speech.
See, that goes under the phrase that many a black grandma has said, all money ain't good money, baby.
This comment for our listening audience. This coming from X of the Utah Outcast. What up, X? The media needs a sideshow, a clown show, a car accident to rubberneck at. It is 100% true.
100% true, man. 100% true. That's where you go back to. If it bleeds, it leads. Now, Dutch, are you about done with that? I wanted to.
Yes, I am completely done, sir.
I wanted to put a footnote on that.
Put your foot down.
So we've been talking about media bias, and I just wanted to provide our listeners with what are ranked as the top 4 most accurate and most unbiased news outlets when we're talking about media.
Can you do them like Casey Kasem though?
All right, coming in at number 4.
It's Lou Bega.
Now, admittedly,
Mambo number 5.
Admittedly, a couple of these are not
Mambo number 6 next week.
U.S. News outlets, but sometimes that's where you have to go to get the real deal. And when I say the real deal, I like to use these a couple of these outlets as a confirmation source when I read an article before I decided my opinion on it, because in reading their reporting, it's like, this is what happened, or this is this and this, and there's no, I found, inflammatory content inserted into it to sway you one way or the other. It's like I'm dating myself when I say this, but it's like the old Dragnet used to say, just the facts, ma'am. You know. So coming in at number 4, from across the pond, it's,
BBC.
The BBC, the world's oldest national broadcasting service and one of the largest news services in the world.
All right, everybody, on your bingo squares, if you had BBC, that is the first number today, BBC.
And that's the media outlet, not the stereotype.
Right. Now, real quick on the BBC. Fun fact. Wait. On the beautiful black chicks.
I like that, Dutch.
Yeah,
beautiful black chicks. That's great.
The
Don't click that shit in there looking for that.
Yeah.
Don't look for that. Yeah, yes, that's
Just
That ain't what
Google
you gonna
that.
get.
Google that and see what comes up.
I mean, there might be a couple there, but that's not the main focus.
So fun fact on the BBC again. I'll repeat the line. In outside of Britain, I was watching a BBC editor talk about this. He said outside of Britain, the BBC is very well respected and seen as non-biased.
Mm-hmm.
Inside of Britain, and Wayne may comment on this, they're seen as like anti-British government and propaganda. I don't know how true that is, but that is what one of the editors had said on a social media platform.
I mean, I think they have written into law about, because the BBC is tax funded, they have to be unbiased. And there are sharp penalties and fines for any biased output. So I could see how, if you're a fuckboy in the British government, how you want to get some shit off and the BBC won't leave you alone and they keep reporting on your bullshit, then yeah, I can see how you think they have a slant, but they're literally not allowed to like put their own opinion on a lot of things for that exact reason.
All right.
Coming in at number 3, Big House.
Number 3.
Or Casey, I'm sorry. Have you found yourself yet? Or are you still wandering around somewhere?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce this. I've heard it pronounced a couple of different ways, but
spell it.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'll say it the way I want to say it because I'm Casey. Sure. All right. Number 3, Reuters. Reuters.
Right.
You said it right.
Yeah,
Reuters.
Roto-Rooters?
Some people say rooters.
We're your plumbers and your news source.
The proper pronunciation is Reuters is a well-respected, unbiased news outlet with a strong focus on clean, accurate reporting. This is one of my go-tos. I like Reuters a lot because it's pop, 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 pop. Now, number 2 is a surprise. I didn't expect it. I thought they would be a little bit more right-leaning. But number 2, coming in at number 2 from the good old US of A, the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is well known for reporting the news as it is. I can't believe it. But
no, they're biased.
I feel that they're biased too, but I went through a few different sources for ranking, and they were right there. Number 1. Anybody want to guess in the chat there?
It'll take him a second to do that. But in the meantime, let me read this real quick. Wayne is giving us the lowdown from across the pond. He says for BBC's, they are portrayed as lefty scum by the right-wing media over here, but we are governed by the right-wing press. My good friend James O'Brien had to leave Newsnight because of the BBC balance.
Wow. Great input there, and knowledge and enlightenment from Wayne Maker 2.0 from across the pond.
I'm still waiting for Wayne Maker 1.0 to come back.
No, he's done. He's done. He got canceled.
Coming in at number 1.
Okay, then 3.0. Anything but 2.0.
Coming in at number 1, the Associated Press. The AP was founded in 1846. The renowned global news organization has 53 Pulitzer Prizes under its belt.
Goddamn.
Now, I do want to throw in a honorable mention there, and it was mentioned in the chat a couple of times. Al Jazeera. Very, very, very clean news. Now, because of their name, of course, they're seen as biased. But Al Jazeera, you know something? Are they still in operation?
Al Jazeera USA closed down some time ago, but
Yes.
Al Jazeera regular, whatever it's called, is still available. So
the OG is still up.
Yeah, but there was an Al Jazeera
Parent,
America.
the parent
Al Jazeera.
organization is still in place. Right. Yeah. And I definitely want to I used to actually sometimes watch Al Jazeera News on when Al Jazeera USA was on TV. And I'd watch it, and they gave quite a different reporting than we're used to here from most of our American news outlets. Less than top 4.
and
you're
beautiful
ever-
Middle
if you're
Eastern
ever-
women anchors as well. So
Yeah,
I didn't hate that.
if you're ever looking to try to confirm something you see on Breitbart or The Blaze or OANN or MSNBC or CNN or Mother Jones
Or
pop over-
InfoWars.
InfoWars.
Or Dig on America.
Yeah, even here
No,
on Dig on America.
by all means, do not take us as a fucking news source. That besmirches the title.
No, we are commentary.
So take a look at those 4 and see how they're reporting it versus what you're reading, and make your decisions from there.
I would like to add a couple of honorable mentions of my own in there.
Mad Magazine, cracked.
You got it. The Source.
The Source.
Yo, how many mics did Biden get? No, I ain't fucking with Biden. He only got 2.5.
Man, his bars be choppy, dog.
Man, he only got 2.5 mics.
son.
Get that
Yo,
weak
son,
shit out of here, cuz.
His flow is lazy, son. That sleepy flow is done, son.
Yo, his metaphors is all over the place.
Man.
Politico, I think is very good, and Yahoo News.
You know what? Actually, they're up there. They're in the top 10. Both of those organizations are in the top 10.
Although Yahoo News has fallen a little, I think, IMO since Verizon bought them.
Did you just say IMO out loud?
He did.
IMO out loud.
Fucking geek.
I said IMO. I didn't say
BRB guys, LOL.
He's a blurred.
You know I'm totally off script right now.
He's a nerd. He's the Dutch nerd. Nerd.
Yep. I am.
You crazy Dutch bastard.
So let's have some commentary on this. So how obviously all humans are biased, right?
Yes.
We all have our bias. Like if you're a Cubs fan, you're going to be, and you're writing an article on the, White Sox or the Brewers or whatever, or those dirty Cardinals, you're going to obviously have some,
especially the fucking Cardinals. Fuck them.
Right.
But
but it's some bias and some positioning is fine, right? Like there's a lot of instances where like Fox News, I was looking at some examples of this earlier today. There is an example where Fox News brought out, they were like, what are the 2 candidates doing today? Talking about the 2020 election. And they said, well, Joe Biden today is sticking close to home, but President Trump starting a robust tour. And they start showing, him coming off the plane and waving and crowds cheering and all that type of stuff. And like, so it's the framing of like, even though what they said there was true, right? The framing of it is meant to make you think Biden's sleepy. He's at home. He's not doing anything. This is going to be used later for the election fraud myth. And, Trump out there with all the support, he's campaigning, he's working, he's energetic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. The old guy versus
he's
Trump.
dancing.
Yeah. He's
like, stop it right now.
He's as spry as he's as spry as a member of.
Don't you ever disrespect the lane like that. Don't you ever disrespect the lane like that.
Yeah. I'll get my joke out because I liked it. Biden's so tired and old.
Yes.
But Trump, he's just as spry as a member of the Norwegian women's handball team.
Yo, Jartan is from Norway. Don't fuck around and find out. Like, you better stay off that team. His sister might be on that team. I don't know. They only got like 38 people in the whole damn country. Odds are up.
It's some fine ass Norwegian women around here. Bro.
That team has
no. I wouldn't know.
That team must have drink a lot of beer
because Chrissy must be
every one of them had a 6-pack. But so let's talk about the bias. So like you can have bias, you can frame things in a way that are biased without being like off the top. But like, so how do you guys identify and deal with like when you watch news stories? What are any tricks or tips that you guys use to pull the framing and the bias out?
In my head, one of my first things that I do whenever I hear something is I take all the adjectives out. Like in my head, I just remove all the adjectives.
All the flashies? Okay.
Because all the adjectives are used to color things and to persuade you into things. So now it could be a dog sitting on the couch, or it could be a ferocious dog or a dangerous dog. But
Right.
That has nothing to do with the fact that there's just a dog on a couch. That's all I want to know. Tell me what is happening, and I'll decide for myself which adjectives I want to put on.
Right.
I don't need your adjectives. And as soon as I start reading something and it's just full of, and then the perpetrator surreptitiously snuck around. It's like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Just the facts, man.
Yeah.
Just the facts.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
I'm pretty much the same way. I mean, there's times I'm watching, we have MSNBC on or we'll have CNN on, and I'll hear the anchor reporting something. And I'm like, oh, that's bullshit. I'm like, baby, that's inflammatory right there. You know, so I try to strip out all of the inflammatory content and distill it away and go to, you know, today, you know, it was, you know, the factual stuff, the stuff that I can say, oh, I can look that up. You know what I mean? I can look that up and read the actual thing and not really use the anchor's commentary on that thing to arrive at my decision. So anything that I can identify that I can pull out and research myself, I try to, you know, like usually the first sentence is the factual sentence. And then after that comes some, you know, slanting of one way or the other. So I'll take whatever I can pull out and everything else kind of becomes background noise. So sometimes I'm actually listening or watching MSNBC or whatever news outlet, if I'm watching, and I'll have the laptop out, and I'll look that stuff up. Or when I'm reading an article, I am a sucker and a stickler for citations. So I'm looking for the links. A recent study shows that and then there's a link to the study. I'm clicking that. You know what I mean? I'm not, you know, so that's how I came to notice that on a lot of right-wing media, there's a dearth, a veritable desert of citations for you to go and to actually
unless they're to their own content.
Yes. Oh yeah, they'll cite you to the Prager Institute or something like that, or Hoover.
Hey,
or whatever.
It's a university.
Yeah,
or one of their own, another article.
The Heritage Foundation.
It's another article that they're, you know what I'm saying? It's a previous article that they had.
It's a previous article
that they send you back to them.
Yeah. So,
right.
You know, I'm like, you know, when it says a recent study by MIT, and they'll have a link to the MIT study, and yes, it's dry. Yes, it's long. Yes, it's spoken in academic, you know, form, but that is what you stop. But it is important to go to those links and read those studies. So when I say a Stanford study, you know, I go and look at the Stanford study and I want to see what it says, because there's always more meat there, you know, and more information. So get on your citations, people. Look at the links and see where is it leading you to? Is it leading you to bullshit, or is it leading you to something salient?
Mikey was late with the tag there. Anyway,
it's been on the screen the entire time.
I know. I meant with the scroll.
He's talking about the crawl. He's talking about the crawl.
Yeah, we're putting the scores on the screen so you can keep up with the Olympic scores.
Breaking news: Giannis had 50.
So here's what I do, especially when it comes to conservative outlets, because I do think it's important to read their spin, their articles, I should say, and avoid their spin. Because especially when you're in a community where you're going to come across that a lot, it helps with being able to refute it. But conservatives don't read the articles. They read the headlines. And when it comes to Fox specifically, they are masters of writing a headline that might say, I'm just going to make something up here. It's not a real headline. Georgia lawmaker gives evidence of election fraud, right? But then you read the article and it's not even really about that. It's about him thinking about giving evidence for election fraud, or implying that there is evidence for election fraud. And a lot of times it'll say something like, Biden gaffes becoming more frequent. And then they'll actually tell you how the gaffes have become less frequent over the last 6 months. They'll give you real meat. But then one sentence will say something like, but Buddy had 3 gaffes in one speech the other day. So therefore, they're becoming more frequent again, right? When it's not a consistency of gaffes, there was an instance of gaffes, and we're creating a frequency.
But that's
right?
that's what I'm talking about, where they have a track record of training these people to just be dumb. Like there's a principle called
you're talking about their listeners
and viewers or readers, whatever it is. Like there's a premise called learned helplessness, where if you consistently
that's critical race theory.
No, it's even better than that. It's when you consistently, whenever someone has a problem, they just look up to you and say, what do I do? And you tell them. So eventually it can get to a point where they don't even think for themselves, how do I solve the problem on my own? It's how do I get an answer from you faster? How do I ask a better question when I get into a problem? So instead of them learning how to solve things and learning to think critically, they just learn how to click on more and more links. And if I just keep finding links with headlines that go into my confirmation bias, and it keeps telling me that this is what it is, they have now solved all of their problems. They're done. I thought there was something weird about him. Yeah, see, there's a link. There's an article right there from Fox News. It says that his gaffes are going up. I knew that already, but there it is. It says it right there. They're not going to open it and read it. But there it is, and now they have something that they can point to. And I used to, but I'm done with that shit. I used to get in Facebook arguments all the time when people would do that shit. And then the first thing I would do, I'd be like, did you read the article? Well, not all of it. I'm like, okay. Well, how about this? I'll send you an article. And then they respond back like House was talking about. They respond back in 35 seconds. Like, there's no way you read that fucking 14-page article in 35 seconds. It's impossible.
Or they'll tell you, oh, I'm not reading anything from the LA Times.
Yeah.
Or I'm not reading anything from the Chicago Tribune, because I already know that everything there is fake news. I will tell you that the right has done a fantastic job in conditioning their subscribers to just automatically dismissing any content that is not from their chosen sources. So, for example, if, like you said, I cannot cite a source to a conservative from a source that they have not already decided is trustworthy. It's just not possible to do. I was reading an article in preparation for this that was striking, and I can't find it now, so I can't cite it. But the article basically said it was an article on teaching students 8 to 16 or 10 to 18. I think it was children 10 to 18 on how it was probably 10 to 17, but on how to zero down on the virus, on the bias, right? How to pull out the bias from a story. And the statistics were shocking, because what this research showed was that children were something like 67, I think it was 2 out of 3 children were able to identify bias in an article by the age of 10. Especially when that bias was biased towards kids. But then the skew is even bigger. But that's pretty fucking astonishing that kids in intermediate grades through high school are better at identifying bias in journalism and in media and in Hollywood media than an adult is.
Adults are bad on purpose, because adults have responsibilities. They have to make hard calls, and there is a certain element of relish that we all take from being in charge of something. So when someone questions that, we are very hesitant to admit that we're wrong, or even to try just entertain that we were wrong about something. So when we watch something, it's been watched. That's what it is because I watched it. I'm the adult. You're the kid. The kid has no fucking concept of what any of this is. So all they can do is tell you what they see. They don't have 40 years of shitty bosses and people running them down the wrong path and all that shit. They don't have any of that. I just see an article and then I'm gonna go get a fucking snack and then probably do some recess or something. Like they don't have that long. They don't have any dog in this fight, so they don't care if they're objective. They don't care if they piss people off.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why kids are perfect.
So let's shift real quick before we close out on this and get to the humidor. On to and this was a good segue for that. What you mentioned before about people not reading the articles, and again, I don't think the people at Fox News who write the articles are the ones who write the headlines. I think they have like one guy, Earl Tucker, Confederate trucker.
I knew it was his ass.
Who's writing the headlines for all these stories, and they're very good at what they do. Right? Like I have to give them credit. They have been extremely successful in pulling off what they want to pull off. But Twitter now, and they have done this for a while. I think Facebook does it too. And I have a lot of problems with Facebook, but they will, if you see a news story and you start commenting on it, it'll say, do you want to read the article first? Right? So I know this because I've done it myself, usually because I'm already familiar with the story. I don't need to read the story from the Washington Post if I already read it from, the New York Times or whatever. But you can't read shit on the goddamn Times because it's all behind the fucking paywall. But you get the point.
Yeah, journalism should be free. You're right. They should just because it's a good thing that they have people pay. And I encourage everybody to find one or two newspapers and fucking get a subscription. Because if not, they're going to resort to the same clickbaity bullshit that all of the fucking spin doctors use. Like they need to be paid. Mm-hmm. That's just the bare bones of it. And it's only like fucking $10 a year. Fucking pay the people.
Remember that later in the show when we ask you for money.
Damn right.
Confirmation bias, tribalism, echo chambers, most of which is on social media where people get most of their news these days. I kind of want to touch on that for a minute. So how much more reliable is, say, a podcast by your friend or a podcast that has maybe, 10,000 subscribers? I'm not talking about like TYT or Joe Rogan or Ben Shapiro level. I'm talking about, your mid-level podcast. How reliable are those sources to you guys when it comes to any news stories that you might hear on there? The commentary is generally going to be like, that's their commentary, right? But like, if you hear a story on those sites, how reliable is that? Number one. And number two, well, let's stick with that question first, and I'll go second.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't do the 15-part question, please. I don't have my paper with me.
Haas, answer the question right now.
Do it.
Run those sources down again.
You're gonna love my nuts.
I said.
I understood the question.
How reliable do you find like mid-market media? Okay, I'm just coming up with that name.
Okay.
Podcasts, news agencies, web shows that are, not as big as like your Joe Rogans of the world and your TYTs of the world, but obviously bigger than what you would see with DOA. Do you find those? How much value do you put in the content of, social media influencers and stuff like that?
Oh, almost none. I think that a lot of times they're trying to become those bigger outlets. So a lot of those, what you would call mid-market or whatever, or low market or local types of things, I find that, they're victims of their own biases as well sometimes. And you have to do the same type of distillation process that you do for MSNBC that you might do for DOA.
I would somewhat agree, but somewhat not. The I Doubt It podcast, which is where I met Wayne in our little Patreon hangouts and shit like that. They're a little bit, yeah. And Utah Outcast, that's another great show. I appreciate what they provide because it's more or less a sharing of the information because you have access to them. You know what I'm saying? So if it's CNN, if CNN is talking about what happened on Mikey Street, and I'm Mikey, and it's my fucking street, and I know they're fucking dead ass wrong about it, I don't have any recourse. But when someone is in that mid level, you still have a pretty good chance, whether it's through Patreon or through Twitter or something like that, you can influence and speak to them, and then it becomes a sharing of information as opposed to reporting. Because I think that's kind of the new-ish thing that's happening now, especially with like shows like ours, is yeah, we might talk about this, that, and the third, but then in the chat, oh, what do you know? It's fucking Irish Swede. Get Irish Swede in here. And now he's in on it. And now he can color the conversation and give us insight that we may not have had before. They don't have that when they're a big broadcasting network. They don't have someone to show up in situ. They don't have the long form conversations. You know what I'm saying? They have to do their ad breaks and do all this shit. We're not beholden to any of that shit. So we can say whatever the fuck we want to say. And we can get people who disagree with us, who can try to convince us that we're wrong. And we can just fucking do the same show next week or a totally different thing. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't have the same rule set that the larger places have. And I think that's a strength because it gives you more access to the people have more access to you, and the information can be vetted in a much faster fashion by more people, depending on your audience.
I agree with that. I
comment
think
is brought to you by the Wu-Tang Clan.
yeah. By the RZA specifically. I think that
Bong, bong.
it depends on the show. Like I've listened to Utah Outcast show after I was introduced to him a few weeks ago. I'm down with that with that type of content. It's very trustworthy. In general, though, shows of that size I think are pretty sensationalized because they're trying to take that next step, right? I'll give you an example. OANN is a particularly good example, so is Newsmax. Now they're way bigger than these guys, but I'm making an example that everyone would know. 6-7 years ago, Newsmax was mostly like military documentaries, and you might get a quick news clip. It was always a conservative slant from the beginning, but they didn't have opinion shows and stuff like that. They really started to fill that vacuum when Trump started turning on Fox News during the couple of times that he did. He would always go back to them, but he would turn on Trump News. Fox News is Trump News is a good name for it. He would turn on Fox News a few times, and then you really saw it really, really, really clearly after the Capitol riot and the election when Fox knew they were about to get sued, and Newsmax, they actually were like, they had guys walk off the air. We showed the video of it here. When Mike Lindell was spouting his conspiracy theories.
He said, I ain't part of that lawsuit, buddy.
Right. OANN, though, quietly, but not quietly, didn't pull back. So their ratings went way up. And they kind of started to fill that vacuum that Fox viewers outside of their late night shows, which are still very highly rated, they lost a lot of their daytime news coverage because unless Laura or Sean or Mother Tucker are on, Fox viewers don't want to hear that. They're not interested anymore in what Dana Perino, is that her name, or Brett Baer have to say?
You mean Jeanine Pirro?
No, not Jeannie Pirro. I'm talking about Dana Perino or whatever. Like Brett Baer, it turns out, and Chris Wallace. It turns out those two guys, especially Chris Wallace, they're actually journalists. So it turns out, and they hate them for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
because they just want to hear.
Shep Smith got fucking shit canned for being a real journalist.
Yep. Because that's not what's wanted. We want people that are going to, blow the dog whistle and sensationalize and outright lie, take stuff out of context, stuff like that to shield to the base.
So I'm going to ask you guys this: how much credence do you put
$1
into Rachel Maddow, Chris Como, Don Lemon? Who's the other one I'm trying to think of from CNN or MSNBC? The other anyway, you know,
Joy Reid?
Not Joy Reid. She's more daytime. I'm talking about though you could probably include her in the conversation if you want to.
What's his name? God damn it.
Chris Hayes, right? So your Chris Hayes of the world, your Chris Comos of the world, your Rachel Maddows of the world, your Don Lemons of the world, the people who are on in opposition to Tucker, Hannity, and Laura Ingraham, like, do you guys take that as news, or do you take it kind of for what it is, as just basically the antithesis of what you're going to hear on Fox?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I actually, since I started like doing shows concerning politics, I actively don't watch them because I don't want to be swayed one way or another by people's things. Like, I'll read whatever the headline is and then read the article about it, but I have to stay away from other political commentators just because I don't want to be parroting the same shit that they're saying. Like, I'd like to come to the conclusion on my own, and then like after I do the show on it, then I'll go back and watch what they have to say about it.
I agree with that as well. I learned that actually when I went on a couple comic book shows, because I was like, I don't want to hear what Emergency Awesome is going to say about this before I go on Jock and Nerd and talk about, you know, the Watchmen or whatever. Haas, would you read that comment? Because I can't. I think I like that comment.
I don't trust or use as sources podcast shit that isn't run by, or at least has deep roots within activists or activist networks.
All you have to do there is take out the word deep and insert the word state, and you have us. We have deep state roots. Okay, so there you go.
Now, for me, I tier it like this.
I'm adding to his comment, but still.
And I will say this. I've noticed this. Well, no, I'm not gonna. You know what? No, it just depends on what I happen to see. I call her Rachel with the receipts for a reason, because she will give you a lot of information that you can go and verify.
Right.
Now, around that will be some biased, opinionated stuff, but you can go and say, well, I can look that up. 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 Don Lemon kind of does the same thing.
Don Lemon.
Oh, Donald Lemon.
Donaldo Lemon.
Chris Hayes.
The brother of Bacardi Lemon.
Chris Hayes is okay. Who else did you say? Don Lemon, Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow.
You hit them all. Chris Como.
Okay. So that's kind of my tiering. I mean, I call her Rachel with the receipts because when she's talking about something that she has actual info on, you know, they all kind of, you know, these news sites, they all have their biases. But if I'm watching, I'm getting a lot of information that I can go in and corroborate and look at the information and say, okay, now she'll give her interpretation of the information. And that's where sometimes the bias comes in, or Don Lemon, same thing. But, you know, I like the fact that she has the receipts. She's like, here it is. And sometimes she'll throw a screen grab up. This is where this is coming from, right. You know? But once again, it still goes back to stripping out the inflammatory content and distilling to get to the actual info.
So you have before we get to the last part of this, you have I think a good snapshot of when you see something on Fox or on OANN and it actually, you know, like you said with Maddow, the spin may not be something you agree with, but the fact is the fact, right?
Right.
Talk about how you because I think you've used the phrase before. If Fox News tells me to, or I think you said Breitbart says 2 + 2 is 4, right?
Right.
So talk about your mentality with that, because I think it's pretty astute.
Well, I say that a lot. 2 + 2 is 4 on Breitbart or MSNBC. You know what I mean? So if I'm hearing something coming out of Fox News that's true, I have the emotional maturity to say, okay, that shit's true. You know, but I might follow that up with, well, the sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while. You know what I mean? A broke clock is right twice a day. You know?
Unless it's a digital clock.
Oh, God. You
That's
with the
true.
semantics. True.
That's
true.
true. Well,
But
unless
I'm
it's
from the old
flashing
school,
12
though. I'm from the
o'clock.
old school. I'm analog.
If my Apple Watch is broken, it is not right twice a day. That shit is
Yo,
off.
Yeah, your shit's off.
That shit is.
That's why you got to get you an analog, bro. You got to get you an analog.
No, I don't. All my jewelry is like $10. I don't wear anything expensive
Unless it's
anymore.
taking time in military time, and it's only once
That's
a day.
the thing. You got to realize I got 4 kids. This ain't expensive.
This was
I
$10.
caught
and
a
this
deal.
was $20.
I caught a deal.
I won't wear
That's
diamonds. I won't wear
wasn't
silver. I won't wear
$10.
anything.
It's not an Arbitron, is it?
You got an Armatron?
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I don't have an Arbitron.
No, I have just a little cloth bracelet.
My first watch was an Armatron calculator watch. I love that.
Oh, you was over there in math class.
Dude, I thought I was the shit. You know?
Did you ever have a gaming watch
No.
when they were popular?
Watch?
We weren't
What about a
rich like
Swatch? Did you ever have a Swatch?
I wanted a Swatch so bad, but I couldn't afford it.
Yeah,
Couldn't afford it.
I got one Swatch in my life. It got stolen, so that was it.
Damn.
It's a hey Dutch, run that swatch, big boy.
And
I
the
found
shoe
my
was
bro-
blue.
Yo, what
Yeah.
size is that swatch, homie?
Looks like
My
a mine.
size, little man.
Looks like a mine and a half.
All right, last question on this. Echo chambers on social media, podcasts, etc. Good, bad, indifferent, the right way to go, the wrong way to go. You guys kind of know that I am not a big fan of echo chambers per se. But I'm not worried about what I think. I want to know what you guys think. Mikey?
I guess it depends on who's calling the echo chamber. Like, what's the rules of echo chamber? Because if it's a bunch of us sitting in a circle saying that the time is now 12 o'clock noon and it's right, that can't be called an echo chamber.
Right.
Because somebody's going to be sitting there like, no, man, it's 12:07. And then they're freaking out. It's like, no, bro, your clock is off. Look at that echo chamber over there. They just done. It's like, no, your clock is off. Like, that has nothing to do with us. We're just all over here just celebrating the fact that our watches work. Your shit is broke.
Yeah.
I'm not a bad person because my watch works. Like, what the fuck?
Right. You know, if there's like to go back to that analogy that I frequently use, if there's 20 people in a room saying that 2 + 2 is 4, is that an echo chamber or is that a bunch of people saying spitting facts? That's a bunch of people spitting facts. You know, if you got 60 people in a room saying, oh, 2 + 2 is actually 4.73. You know what I mean? And then you got somebody wandering around, avoiding all the rooms that say 2 + 2 is 4, and going into the room that says 2 + 2 is 4.75 and say, oh, yeah, these are my people. You just entered an echo chamber.
You entered
what I mean?
QAnon.
I mean, like, I get most of the shows that I participate in are always called echo chambers. But the thing is, all we do on all the shows is argue with each other. Sometimes calmly, sometimes not. That's all we do is argue over
Right
things.
here.
That's all we do is argue.
Right. How many times have we been screaming at Dutch?
Yeah.
Or you and Dutch screaming at each other, or me and Dutch screaming at each other because we don't agree.
Right. But
So
that's
you can't really call this show an echo chamber.
I play Wayne's role on this show.
Oh my God. Don't get Wayne started on fucking time zones. Jesus Christ. And the fucking second law of thermodynamics.
For those who don't know who Wayne is Mikey's co-host on The Bin.
The
London bloke. The London bloke.
Wayne from the UK, as he is, forgive me. His High Lord
Ollie,
Wanker.
as we like to call him.
His High Lord Wanker. He's we spent the $50 to get him a plot of land over in Scotland and made him a lord. And now we got to pick his name, and his name is the Lord Wanker of Essex. He's got a certificate and everything.
What you didn't know is he had one beforehand. So
got him. Thank you, Axel. Broke 5 broke. We ain't got it.
that's actually a good comment, Kara. It says the right is an echo chamber, the center is a circle jerk, and the left is a bag of angry cats. So welcome back to the Bag of Angry Cats show, where it's a circle jerk also. We're a circle jerk of angry cats.
No, it's not. No.
The bag and the jerk is going on inside the echo chamber.
Exactly.
Pause.
I don't even know
if you're listening, you're totally fucked.
Yeah.
All right. Closing thoughts on media bias. Give us your elevator pitch, both of you, and then we'll get to everyone's favorite part of the show.
Closing thoughts on bias. Learn to identify it, strip it away, distill down into the truth, and then make your own decision from there. Or distill down into the information, and then make your assessment based on verifiable information that could be corroborated, and then that's where you base your decisions. Don't base your decisions on the commentary around the information that's being presented.
One of my favorite things when I'm looking up something for a show is when someone has a timeline. Oh, that's my fucking jam. Zoning.
I like a timeline.
Oh, I love me some timeline. That's my favorite thing. So that's my media. That's my preferred media is when someone literally just has like at 12 p.m. this happened, 12:15 this happened, 12:18 this happened, then 12:20 this happened. That's what I need. And then I will disseminate and decide for myself what I think is going to happen. If you can find sources like that are just going to give you just the facts, ma'am. If they're just going to give you that, go with that, because that's something that then you can have
like Sky News.
Like who?
I don't.
That's a right wing news,
Sky News?
In the UK, I think.
Yeah, you crackled for a second. You said Sky News.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But if you can find literally just because that's all I really need from a news source is I want a chronicle of the events. I just want the events in chronological order. That's all I need. And then you can make your own decisions, and then you can have conversations with people and talk about them. But try to just find the basic, raw, boring facts, and then talk to other people about it. And then you won't fall victim to all the other shit. Hopefully.
I think my quick one would be what I do is I ask myself, why is this story being written? Especially if it's an opinion piece. And even if it's a news piece, right? Like, why is it being written? How is the headline positioned? The headline, I think, is more important for things like crime stories, right? Like, is it a story about a person of color or immigrant committing a crime? How are they framing it, right? If it's a story about a politician, right? Like Mikey said, some of the trigger words that are used. But what I look at is, why is the story being written, and who is it being written for? And then look to see, as I said before, does the facts of the story or any alternate reporting on it line up with what with what you've read and what you are anticipating and what makes sense to you, and use your reason, your cognitive reasoning to figure that out for yourself. There's always a why and there's always a who. Mikey, you have a job to do.
Speaking of humidors.
Welcome to the Humidor with Big Haas. Find out what Haas is puffing and drinking tonight. If you try his suggestion and you die, that is natural selection. And the DOA podcast is not responsible for you being weak fucking sauce. So now, the one, the only, Big Haas.
Any day now, Big Hoss. What are you drinking? What are you smoking? How's Jenna?
Hey Jenna, how you doing, babe?
She ain't here. Go ahead.
She's probably watching somewhere.
She might be watching somewhere. Wherever you are.
She got the sound turned off. She's on mute.
So today I'm smoking with my pinky
I
up.
can't with y'all.
All right. I'm smoking a anniversary cigar. Now, those in the know that the Drew Estate Undercrown line is one of the most popular of their offerings. And
Can I sing the song?
sure.
Do you know what today is? It's our anniversary. It's our anniversary. I got. Ooh,
Gotta hit him with the shoulders. You gotta hit him with the shoulders.
Fuck around with me. There's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
Oh, I love that shit. Thanks, Eddie. Anyways, anniversary edition.
Anniversary edition. So today,
I've got something for you.
Oh man, what the fuck?
that's right. I do have something for you.
Ooh,
So today,
You are fake news.
I am smoking the Undercrown 10. It is in celebration of their 10th anniversary as a blend.
did they call it 10 or X?
Is it
10.
the voice from the Underground 10?
No, the Undercrown
Oh,
10
we should have called it that. Voice from the
by
Underground.
Drew Estate.
And then we could have sued him.
Yeah,
It comes in 4 Vitolas.
they all would have still got the
I'm
name
smoking
wrong.
the Corona Doble or Double Corona, which is 7-inch by 50 ring gauge. Love it. It only comes in 4 Vitolas, and it also one of the 4 is a limited edition Lonsdale Vitola. Now the
Vitola.
Lonsdale,
Oh wait, shit. Hold on.
what's wrong? The Lonsdale is 6 by 46.
I was about to say, teacher, in my notes, I never heard you speak of that Vitola before. It's so it's been torpedoes or the other ones I can't think of.
Yeah, you got the Torpedo, you got the Toro, you got the Robusto, you have the Corona,
Jesus fuck.
you have the Lancero. There's tons and tons of Vitolas or shapes or configurations. Okay. What? Jesus Christ. So the wrapper is a dark Mexican San Andres.
Is it vegan?
Is it vegan? Yeah, it's a plant.
Jardin.
The binder is a Connecticut River Valley broadleaf.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh my.
Better be
Yeah.
organic. It better be fucking organic.
Shit.
And the fillers are all from Dutch. I'm sorry, Mikey.
Nicaragua.
Yes. So this stick is a medium to full body profile. And right off the bat, when I first lit it, blast of pepper, blast of spice, right in your face. Pause. Okay.
You're gonna
This
love
is-
my nuts.
It's but it has a little bit of sweetness on it, a tad bit. That's brought out by a little bit by what I'm eating to mate with it, as well as what I'm drinking. So you get a little bit of chocolate. You get a little bit of spice. You get a tad bit of sweetness that gets amplified if you're eating something
nice.
kind of sweet or drinking something that has a little sweetness on it as well.
I don't consume sugar.
Well, that's probably why you sound like that.
Fuck around with me. There's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
So if you look, nice dark wrapper, a little bit of sheen on it. It had like the whole, like this was a 7-inch, right? And let me see if I can get it for you. That vein right there. Right there.
Mhm.
It went down the whole length of the cigar. Just like one big ass fucking vein.
Oh,
right.
No, Dutch. Down. Bad Dutch. Not
Mm-hmm.
in Not in the house. Not in the house,
So
Dutch.
we've been on about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, and I still have about 2.5 inches of this cigar to smoke. That's great. That means you could take this cigar, especially in this Vitola, the Corona Doble, and you can go play 9 holes of golf or something.
I'm smoking with you, as you can see. Oh, I got to say it like Hellboy. I'm smoking with you, as you can see.
As you can see, there too, lots of smoke. Lots of smoke. So if you're one of those smokers that likes to
Voluminate.
I like that word. This is a cigar for you, especially because most people think that they need a bigger ring gauge to have more smoke. But as you can see, this is only 50. It's not a 64 or a 60 or a 56.
It's a shower, not a grower.
Produces a lot of smoke. That's right. And some people are like that. Now, one complaint. The burn line can get pretty wavy. And as you can see that smoke going straight up, right? So that indicates that there's not a lot of wind or breeze down here, but the burn line was still a little wavy. So I had to kind of touch it just to kind of fix the burn line, and then it, so this show is one big double entendre, Wayne.
Oh yeah, I forgot there's audio people. For all the audio listeners, bring that back up, Dutch. We have from his Lord Winker of High Essex. Haas is showing me the length of the vein running down the shaft he's toking on. What has this show become?
Right.
But it's always been garbage.
And another thing,
it's
too,
somebody's
is,
filth, and they love it.
Because it's a longer cigar, because it was 7-inch, I found myself having to purge it a little bit more than normal. And that's a new term.
Wait,
so,
hold on. Got a question here. Let me see. I'm going to flip over to the... And for people who've only been listening since I've arrived, whenever you hear that voice, what's this dude's name?
Anybody, his name.
X.
Professor from The Simpsons?
Yeah, X in the chat. Help me out. What's this character's name?
But yeah, so he uses this voice.
Fuck, I forgot the question now. What was I asking?
Oh, you have a new
purging.
Yeah, I have in my notes here. Under P, I only have put a. I don't have anything about purging. Can you illuminate us?
Okay.
Professor Frink, thank you, X. I knew you'd have it.
So, as you smoke a cigar, you're burning tobacco.
It's Professor John I.Q. Nerdlebaum Frink Jr.
Wow.
Nerdlebaum.
There's a mouthful while you're smoking on that vein.
Pause. So, while you're smoking a cigar, especially a longer cigar, you're burning tobacco, and every time you pull in, you're pulling in the smoke, you're pulling in some of the elements of the burning of the tobacco, which can sometimes foul the taste and negatively affect the experience of the cigar because you don't get all of the notes and nuances. So from time to time on bigger ring gauge cigars and longer vitolas, you purge it to get that out of there. And it's simply just instead of pulling in, you kind of you blow out, and you blow those fouling elements out of the cigar before you take another toke. So a lot of times people will say, "Oh, it started tasting real nasty," and if you watch them as they're enjoying the cigar, they never purge it, and they'll get some big long Churchill, and they're just puffing, and they never purge it. And a lot of times too, if you're puffing the cigar too often, that'll foul it more quickly. So if you're a person who, instead of every minute or two, it's like every 30 seconds, every 15 seconds, you're just puffing, then it'll turn on you a lot more quickly, no matter what the vitola.
Like a disgruntled housewife.
See, as you can see, like, look. Even as we've been talking, the burn line has gotten wavy.
Squirrely.
You see that?
It's definitely not perpendicular to the floor.
Right. So
looks like
now,
one of those Dutch masters I used to roll weed in back in the 90s.
All right, so that was the drug portion of the show. But what I haven't had to do is relight it. I've only had to kind of touch the edge here with the flame just to get a little bit of a burn to even it out. I haven't had to relight the cigar, so that's a plus. It's like looks like a double cap here at the top.
No cap.
So there's a cap up here, but then there's another cap here, and you can't really see. You can't see the line. There's a line.
Yeah, you can.
There's a line there going around, but up here where I cut it, there's another line as well. So this is a double cap, which is great. I like a double or triple cap because then when you cut it, there's less of a chance of you breaking down under that line and cutting the cap off and then having the cigar unravel on you. So that's a nice touch. The band is nice, and I would call it regal. It has a certain regality about it.
I will definitely say it's ornate.
Yes. So it has the lion there with the crown under it. That's why they call it the undercrown. This is, like I said, the undercrown line is one of the Dogma, the Maduro. There's a ton of undercrown, the Connecticut. They're all amazing, great cigars. I have it paired today with 19 Crimes,
whoop, whoop.
The Warden, which is a Australian red, 2016 vintage, 14.5% alcohol by volume.
I've been looking for that for Melissa nonstop. Can't find it.
It's the best, dude. They're probably out of it.
I keep hearing you guys say that. I've never found it. All I find is the Punisher and one or two others.
So when I take a puff,
The Banished.
yeah.
When
I take a sip and then take a puff, I get an odd mix of an explosion. Pause.
Oh my God!
You get a renewed
Well,
blast.
then you're a punch. There's three of you. 3 punches.
You get a renewed blast of spice, but then there's also sweetness on it, an enhanced sweetness, which is very cool because normally when you're drinking something with sweetness on it, that's going to enhance sweetness. The spice or the earth of the cigar gets muted, but for some reason, the Warden brings out both of those. Okay, but I also have dark chocolate covered mango. Now, when I take a bite, dark chocolate covered mango.
Now hold on, brother. I was just over at your crib for the damn finals game. He poured me a beautiful tumbler of that apple pie moonshine. That was delicious. But you didn't whip out no chocolate covered mangoes, brother.
That's because we were out.
Oh shit! All right.
So when I have some dark chocolate covered mango,
convenient.
He ate that shit before I got habitual line stepper. He ate that shit before I could get over there to get my mug and my business cards.
You get the dark chocolate sweetness brings out more sweetness.
You got the house candy,
and then the mango sweetens it a little bit more. So it's
closest thing Mikey's getting to a mango at Haz's house is the leftover corn candy from Halloween.
So this cigar is great for after dinner with dessert and coffee.
What kind of body?
This
Medium
is actually a triple band. This is a triple banded cigar. I just realized that. See, I just took off band number 2, and then there's another band here that I need to take off because it's starting to burn as well.
What
have a nice
body?
Thank you.
What body would you say on there?
Oh, it's medium to full.
Medium full.
Yeah, medium full. It has a little issue with the burn line, but a solid cigar overall. You get to see more vein there when I take the
enough vein.
You know you like the vein. I like a veiny cigar. So it's very refined, very complex, but it has that ruggedness. And when you run your fingers along the wrapper here,
Oh Jesus!
it's a little it's a little velvet.
mind.
It's a unique combination of a velvety roughness.
Oh,
It's got like a little velvety texture to it, but it's also just kind of.
You ever been mind fucked before?
You know,
so when you
little
stroke
rough.
when you stroking the shaft.
You take the cigar out you take the cigar out of the cellophane, and you're like, whoa, that's kind of veiny, that's kind of velvety, but it's also kind of rough at the same time.
I'm speaking.
It reminds me of
I'm speaking.
it reminds me of a lyric by Ice Cube in the grand finale with Little John, where he said, "I'm polished and gritty." This is polished and gritty. Okay, so for a leaf meter, huh? The only real problem I had with this cigar is the burn line getting a little wavy. So
That was intentional drum roll, not background noise to the listener.
100%. So I would give this 4.85.
Whoa!
Great cigar.
42.
It's beautiful.
All right. On that note, Mikey has a message for us, and here's your new message before you get started, Mikey, every week.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's time for you to open up them pocketbooks. All right. So we've been talking about media bias and all that shit. One way to weed out media bias is to not have corporate donorship to media corporations. That's kind of a big thing. So if you want true and factual information, even though sometimes the takes might not be 100% in league with what you're saying, you can guarantee here we'll probably have links defending our points, and we're welcome to take on any counter arguments. So you can always shoot us an email at digonamerica@gmail.com. Oh no, we don't have that, do we? Is it still VFU? Yeah, it's still VFU. So yeah, sorry guys, you're still gonna have to go to vfupodcast@gmail.com. Send us your grievances.
Hey Mikey.
Yes, sir.
Can they also leave us a message on our Dig on America Facebook page?
That's a great idea, Haas. That's a great idea. You could also go to our Facebook page and drop us a line. The episode catalog is also up on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. It's only up for about a week, and then it's going to cycle out the old episode. Yes, Dutch.
If you'd like to, you can also, if you don't remember the email address, you can just go to digonamerica.com, click contact us, and it'll send an email right from there.
Right to our faces. But if you would like to support the show and help us help other people, help us get to our $100 goal on Patreon, go to patreon.com/digonamerica. We're almost at that goal. We're almost there.
I was so close.
We're so close. But if you guys want to help us get to that goal, once we hit that $100 goal, we're going to be donating a third of all of our donations to charities such as Wounded Warrior. What was the other two? The Homeboy Project and
Irish Swedes
Borders.
and Doctors Without Borders.
John Ritter's foundation from our fans.
Yep.
Doctors Without Borders. So we have a slew of excellent people. But if you guys could help us get there, that would be great. And then I'm pretty sure we'll rotate every month, and you guys can vote on Patreon to see who should be the next charity that we support. And again, that's patreon.com/digonamerica. Help keep us independent and help keep us saying whatever the fuck we want, even if we can't talk at the end of a show.
Hey, if Alex Jones can make money.
Yeah, it's weird. And we're not selling any super male vitality. That's making the frogs gay.
All right.
All right.
I believe you've met my fitness consigliere.
Take us home, Haas. Give us your closing thought for the day.
Closing thought for the day. Short and sweet. Let
Good
them
to
girls wear them damn biker shorts.
Yes.
Quit objectifying women.
Yes.
A woman should not have to be beholden to your lack of self-control. Period.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
No.
If they have an OnlyFans, go gawk at that. You don't need to gawk at women playing sports on television.
And there's plenty out there on OnlyFans for you to gawk at if you want.
And pay them.
There's no shortage. And pay them, as Obama would say. Take out your wallet. Pay them.
Oh, you
got to put a in there.
You pay them.
So what you got to do
Michelle
is, like Michelle tells me, is open up your wallet and pay them. That's what you do next.
Go to my OnlyFans. Don't go to Malaya's. Don't go to Malaya's. She's not really there.
Nope, I'm not on board with this. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for this week. He's trying to know.
The opinions of Dutch are not the opinions of the rest of the Going America podcast.
That was an actual quote from Obama. No, it wasn't.
Yes, and thank you. Final thoughts from Utah Outcast X. Yo, pay your sex workers. Yes. No, we'll talk about that later. Bye.
Yeah, all right. Mikey turned into TJ.
I never said that, TJ.